If you've been hanging around TikTok or YouTube in the last week, then you know that self-proclaimed psychologist and also self-proclaimed high-value woman who teaches rich men how to get high-value women like her, Sadia Khan, has been exposed, allegedly, for being a fake psychologist with no credentials and also for being a side chick. So, when I tell you all that the internet has had me very busy this week dissecting all the relationship dynamic drama, I am not kidding. So here we go with the Sadia Khan controversy, which many of you have asked me to dissect. So in this video, we're going to be talking about what the hell happened with Sadia Khan. Who is she? What is her definition of a high value woman? We're going to talk about her getting exposed, allegedly, for being a side chick, and we're also going to be talking about what actually makes a high value woman based on my 15 years of experience coaching women to actually value themselves and have higher self-esteem in different areas of their life. Hi, my name is Amanda. Welcome to this channel where we talk about how to manifest what you want in life without all the extra stress, chaos, and drama that most people are accustomed to. Lately, we've been talking a lot about healthy relationship dynamics. So we've been talking about masculine energy, feminine energy, how to use that in relationship. We've been talking about healthy communication skills, and we've been breaking down all this mess going on the internet between Aubrey Marcus, the Wizard Blaze, and now Sadia Khan. I bring my 15 years of experience coaching women in different areas of their lives to bring you really practical tips that you can use to make your relationships better, make your life better, actually grow your self-esteem and have a better life. So if that's something that you're interested in, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we have coming out on this channel. And if you want resources on how to work with me, classes that we may have available, all that stuff can be found in the description below. So let's get into it. Who is Sadia Khan and what happened? So Sadia Khan is a self-proclaimed psychologist who burst on the internet scene, I believe, shortly after COVID. She is a stunning woman, and she presented herself as very graceful and high value, and her shtick was that she would teach high value men, so like rich, successful men, in her case, how to be able to attract a high value woman like her. Okay, that's great. She's originally from the UK. I believe she has a degree in education, and psychology in education specifically. She's got a couple of certifications, moved to Dubai, and then that's where her career really started to take off when she got on TikTok a few years ago. So you've probably seen her around because I think she's probably been on every single podcast ever, and she's had a lot of content go viral. She was pretty hard to miss. Well, now what's happened is that in the last couple of weeks, it seems that she has been allegedly exposed for being a side chick, for harassing people in the DMs, and quite frankly, for not really acting like a high value woman. In addition to that, her credentials are being called into question as to whether or not she is actually a psychologist, which all signs point to no, she is not, even though she has been calling herself that. So that's the gist of what is going on. The stuff that has come out in terms of text messages that have come out, DMs that have come out in terms of her harassing people in the DMs. And at the worst, there seems to be a voice note or some sort of phone conversation that she is having with a married woman about how Sadia, the side chick in this case, can suck that woman's husband's D if she wanted to, even on their wedding day, if she wanted to. Now, up until this point, Sadia has not admitted to any of this stuff yet. I think she did do an interview with Abba or something where she alluded to the fact that that voice note is AI, or she did have a situation with this guy, but everything is alleged up until this point. So now that you are caught up to speed on what is going on, let's start dissecting this situation. So number one, her actual credentials. So what the issue that seems to be coming up here in terms of Sadia, or one of many issues that is coming up in terms of Sadia is the fact that she is not actually a licensed psychologist, but she has been calling herself a psychologist, and she claims to have credentials from places where she may not actually have credentials from, or there has been a conflating of credentials. There's been a lot of internet sleuths trying to figure that out, but there is some question in terms of her actual credentials and her calling herself a psychologist. Now, if anything, Sadia is probably more of a life coach. I understand that. I am a certified professional coach. I've been so since 2013. I have a lot of certifications, and I have thousands of hours of coaching under my belt, which is one of the it's how I have the data to talk about what I talk about on these videos is training and experience. However, I am never going to call myself a psychologist because I am not one. Now, I want to be clear about something, right? I don't think that if someone is not a psychologist, that they're not good at what they do in terms of coaching or anything like that. In fact, I know many people, not at least in the United States. She's got her degrees from the UK and she lives in Dubai, so I'm not sure exactly how it works there, but I know in the United States, for example, I know a lot of people who could go be licensed psychologists if they choose to, and they choose not to be because they would be under way too much regulation in terms of what it is that they are actually able to do to help people. So because of that, many people decide to become life coaches instead. I also know people who've done that in finance, for example, that there would be, if they were to become a certified financial professional in the United States, there's way too much regulation. They can't really help people in the way that they want to help people. So then they become a financial educator or a financial coach, for example. That being said, there is a difference between licensure and actual coaching and education. So for example, with my clients, I am not a licensed therapist. If I feel like they need a licensed therapist, I will tell them that they need a licensed therapist. I will make recommendations. I know many, and I know very many good ones that I have good relationships with that I can refer people to if I need to. So the fact that Sadia is going around saying that she is a psychologist when she is not is quite alarming. She could have just called herself a life coach or something like that, and it would have been a lot less fraudulent, right? In addition to that, I just want to be clear, like there's plenty of people who have all the licensure, all the degrees, all the certifications, all of the everything, and they still suck at what they do. So I don't actually think it is a prerequisite to being really good at helping people. There's plenty of therapists out here who have all the degrees and all the licensure and they still suck. Meanwhile, there's plenty of people who don't have all the degrees and all the licensure, and they're really great teachers, they're really great mentors, they're really great coaches. It's like a anointing on their life or a talent that they have or a vocation, right? So I'm not here saying that somebody needs to have all of these things in order to be good at their job. That's a farce. We all know that's a farce. In this case, the issue is Sadia saying that she is something that she is not, because apparently the degrees and certifications that she does have are not in alignment with actually getting licensure in the United Kingdom, which is where she grew up and got her education. And apparently it's also not suitable for getting licensure in the UAE, in Dubai, where she is. So I just wanted to make that very clear. This is one of the reasons why we really need to ask for discernment, right? Whether it's therapists or coaches or educators or experts or even professors or pastors, whatever. We really need to ask religious leaders, spiritual leaders. We really need to ask for discernment in order to know, okay, is this someone that I should be listening to or not? And I think also a lot of human beings need to learn how to take what works for them and leave the rest. I think what happens a lot of the times on social media is, for example, they will find someone like Sadia and they'll be like, oh, that's my girl. And then they'll agree with everything that she says or does. And then somebody gets exposed for something and then people feel stupid, right? Whereas if you learn how to take what works for you and leave the rest and really not get that attached to people, it's going to save you a lot of heartache on these internet streets because a lot of people are fraudulent, right? They just are. Okay, so that's number one, right? Is there's a lot of question as to whether or not She can't call herself a psychologist, it seems, even though she has been. So that's already pretty problematic. Now let's go into actual high value woman, because her whole thing was, I am a high value woman, and I'm going to teach successful and high value men in Dubai, which is my husband owns a relocation company, and so we keep tabs on a lot of different countries and what they do. And we do get asked a lot of questions about dating in other countries, and Dubai is like a whole, it's like its own like little bubble and its own world and its own craziness when it comes to dating. So for me, that was already like, girl, that's not even like most of the world. If you're focused on Dubai, like most of the world doesn't even operate the way that Dubai does. But that's just my personal opinion. A lot of people um, probably don't know that. I mean, it's a playground for billionaires, basically. you know, that's what Dubai was built for, right? Was to attract a lot of wealthy people with money. And a lot of wealthy people go to Dubai because there's good tax incentives and they're pro business and they're friendly for business and those types of things. But you do end up in this world of dating that's definitely not uh, typical, and it can definitely lend itself to a lot of toxicity if you are an immature or very surface level person. Right? So for me, when she's like, "Oh, I'm based out of Dubai and I work with all these wealthy men in Dubai," I was already, because of what I know from my husband's business, I was already kind of like, okay, right? Like, take some of these things with a grain of salt, because this is like its own little bubble in in the world. Okay. So that aside, right, her whole thing is, I'm a high value woman. And the thing is that Sadia does actually present herself as a high value woman. If you are only looking at surface level, which, let's be real, most human beings do, they just look at surface level stuff. And even the term high value itself, um, because most people don't know how to become high value from like the inside out. So a lot of what I talk about is, how do you become high value and how from the inside out? How do we build self-esteem? How do we regulate our nervous systems? How do we become self-aware? How do we overcome a lot of our wounds, so our wounds are no longer making our decisions in our life? Like, most people don't know how to do that, right? Especially not on the internet. So a lot of times when people are saying high value, in the way that Sadia was talking about it, a lot of it has to do with looks and how much money you make, and really just surface level kind of stuff, right? So in my book, there's actually 3 levels to this, and I was just working on a training about this while this all blew up on the internet. I'm starting to realize this is a common theme in my life at this point, where it's like I'm working on a training, or I'm researching something, or I'm reading a book, and the very thing that I'm creating or researching or reading a book on just blows up on the internet in real time. I'm starting to notice it's a theme in my life. So in my work, there's actually 3 levels to becoming this high value woman. And it's all based on inside out work, right? So let me explain these 3 levels. And right now, I do not have better names for these 3 levels other than level 1, level 2, and level 3. So if you're offended by it, sorry, not sorry. I am working on it, and I am trying to make this as simple as possible so that people can understand. So level 1 is very surface level, right? So it's about looks, it's about voice tone, it's the light flirting, and quite frankly, you being able to regulate your nervous system and stay in your feminine energy is inconsistent under stress, right? So that is level 1, right? When we get to level 2, now is when we start talking about nervous system safety. So this is when you start becoming more aware. This is when you understand more of what your triggers and core wounds are, and you're not letting them, you're not just reacting to everything around you anymore. You're more receptive to what is around you. You're starting to expand your capacity to receive more. You know what your values are. You know what you're looking for. You're becoming more discerning. You're not just like super reactive to everything around you anymore. And it's like a transition phase, right? So it's not like, great, you haven't like totally embodied these things yet. We are in transition. Now, level 3 is when we get to devotional gravity, right? And when I say devotional gravity, I mean, this is when men really become devoted to you, but I'm not even talking about men right now. I'm just talking about what goes on the inside. This is when you're soft, when you're anchored in your values, super anchored in your values and your boundaries. You feel safe. You've totally expanded your capacity to receive from everything around you. You're calling in healthy people, not just men, but just healthy people in general. At this point, you're not reacting to everything around you. You're regulated, right? So the difference between level 2 and level 3 is that at level 2, we're still kind of getting our wings, right? Like it's not who we are yet. It could feel kind of performative still in level 2. And based on the results that we're seeing on the outside, the results are a little bit mixed on the outside, because level 2 is that transition, right? Once we get to level 3, now you've really started to become a high value woman from the inside out. What it seems to be going on with Sadia, if all of this is true, it's all allegedly, at this point, what seems to be going on with Sadia is that if all of this is true, it means that we're stuck at a level 1. And what that means is that you're presenting very well, which a lot of women in level 1 do this, right? They will present very well. They will be graceful on the outside. They are very well put together. Sadia is stunning. She is absolutely gorgeous. And she presented herself in a very high value way with her voice tone. She's very articulate, graceful, all of those kinds of things, right? So on the outside, it looks good. But on the inside, it seems that things are incongruent, meaning we would be stuck at a level 1, right? And the way that we know this is because based on what has been coming out of her alleged actions, it would mean that her nervous system regulation, or her high value womanness, I guess maybe is a way she would put it, or her feminine energy might be another way that she puts it, is very inconsistent under stress. Now, the reason that we know that is because apparently some of this stuff is very public in terms of her really going after people in comment sections on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, right? So a high value woman would not even be that affected by what other people are saying about them, and would not garner such reactions. Like there's one creator who I guess questioned Sadia a long time ago, or wanted to collaborate with Sadia, and it didn't really work out. The first collaborator actually being a therapist, from my understanding. And that creator kind of found out that Sadia was inconsistent, and Sadia was sending emails and things to this person being like, your husband, you have an unwanted baby, your fiance doesn't even want you. So like, and this is public knowledge, right? And we've seen her do it in comments sections as well. And that's a lot of what has come out from private DM conversations with her Instagram account as well. So as you can see, right, the reactions that she is having are way over the top and inconsistent with that of the high value woman that she is presenting herself to be when she is on video, when she's on podcast interviews, so on and so forth. So that is the first inconsistency. And then obviously the degrees and her not actually being a psychologist, allegedly, would be another inconsistency. And then the third inconsistency, which I guess is the real bomb drop of this particular situation, would be the voice conversation that came out between her, allegedly, and another woman. The other woman either, I think, married or about to be married to a man. And then Sadia arguing with this woman, because Sadia, being the side chick in this situation, which Sadia in a lot of her videos always spoke out against side chicks, always spoke out against cheating, all that kind of stuff. So again, the incongruency of this situation, and Sadia allegedly yelling at this woman, saying, I could, speaking of the husband or the fiance of the other woman, I could suck his D today if I wanted to. I could suck it on his wedding day if I wanted to, so on and so forth. So obviously very incongruent behavior, because if an actual high value woman would not put herself in a situation where she is someone's side chick. She just would not be doing that, right? Especially, and in this case, it's just like extra crazy because she has so many interviews and videos and things where she is speaking out against this kind of behavior, and allegedly she is partaking in this kind of behavior. Now, unfortunately, right, this is all alleged with Sadia, but unfortunately, it's not actually that uncommon for these types of things to occur. And that's why when I talk about being a high value woman, and this is something that I move my private clients through in a process that I have where I baby step them into these things, where I'm working on a training about this right now to help women actually become high value women from the inside out. Because there is a difference between being high value and high functioning. And this is something I got from Dr. I think her name is Cheyenne Bryant, who also people question Dr. Cheyenne Bryant's credentials. But from what I have seen with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, she does have a PhD. She does have the credentials to be able to get licensure to be a licensed therapist in the United States, where Sadia does not even have that, allegedly, for the UK, which is where Sadia got her education. And Dr. Cheyenne Bryant has spoken about it publicly, saying, I couldn't do what I wanted to do. So Dr. Cheyenne Bryant doesn't call herself a psychologist from what I have seen. She calls herself a psychology expert because she does have doctorates in this, and she calls herself a life coach, right? So she does not call herself a psychologist, whereas Sadia Khan does, right? So again, there's a rub, but you can see a difference between the two. But Dr. Cheyenne Bryant has this great concept, right, that I'm going to borrow right now, which is understanding the difference between high value and high functioning. And what I like to do with my clients and on this YouTube channel and in our trainings is help you become both high value and high functioning. Otherwise, there's a lot of incongruency, or you get stuck on a very level one, surface level way of looking as to whether or not someone would be a good partner or whether you would be a good partner. So the way that Dr. Cheyenne Bryant talks about it is, if you're high value, right, it probably, in society standards of high value, and most of society does not know how to be in healthy relationships or any of that. But if you're high value, essentially what that means for society, in society's basic understanding, is you make a lot of money, you're a professional person, you are educated, and you're good looking. Like, that's basically it, right? So a lot of people would fit into that category, right, of this very surface level understanding, which is how most people see it. If you go to the red pill communities or even Sadia's communities, it was a very surface level understanding of what high value actually means. Now, in order to be high functioning is different. It means your nervous system is regulated. It means you're not letting your triggers make all of your decisions for you. You're no longer allowing your wounds to make all the decisions for you. You're making different decisions. You esteem yourself a lot more. So you know how to communicate. So it's a different thing, right? And you could be high value, like Sadia presents herself to be, but very low functioning, which would make you level 1 on my scale of being a high value woman, right? So it's not just about, in Sadia's case, looking the part, sounding really good, being very graceful, all those kinds of things, and presenting in that way. It's also about what goes on behind the scenes. It doesn't mean anybody's perfect. Obviously, no one is perfect, right? But behind the scenes, what is actually going on? And allegedly, that is what we are seeing with Sadia Khan, where it's high value in the way society and social media likes to talk about it, but it is not high functioning. Because if she were high functioning, she would not be an alleged side chick. She would not be sending emails and DMs and saying horrible things to people who don't agree with her, perhaps didn't want to pay her, so on and so forth. I've been in the coaching industry for 15 years. If somebody doesn't want to pay me, they don't want to pay me. I don't go after them and be like, you're a low-level person, you're low class, everybody wants free shit. Like, you just leave it alone and move on. But apparently Sadia has not been doing that in the Instagram DMs, and that's part of what has come out allegedly in terms of what she's doing. So you would not be responding in that way to people who perhaps don't agree with you on certain things. You wouldn't be letting just random people on social media really get under your skin like that as much. You would be a lot more unbothered if you were actually a high functioning person. So that seems to be what's going on here, right? That allegedly Sadia Khan, who built a whole brand being a supposed psychologist, which apparently she does not have the credentials for it, but did that. And then in addition to that, it has since come out through voice notes, text messages where she's like chasing guys and being overtly sexual in the text messages is another thing that allegedly has come out. So apparently, presenting as high value, right, but not actually being high functioning and therefore having an incongruency, and in my book, being at level 1 of divine feminine energy based on my methodology. So I hope this helped you guys break it down. I know it's been all over the internet the last week or so, and it just keeps taking off like wildfire. And many of you asked me to comment on this and kind of do a bit of a breakdown, but I gotta go because my husband and I have a day trip and we're gonna be doing a few real estate tours for my husband's business. So I gotta go. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. And again, if you want to work with me, if you want to learn more about these different levels of being a high value woman from the inside out, not outside in, which is allegedly what we were seeing with Sadia and most people out here on the internet, you can find all the information and all the different ways to work with me below. Thank you so much for giving me your time today, and I'll catch you on the next one.